May 2002. Still working at Frame Art Galleries, making picture frames. Still living in North Ridgeville, next to the police station. Still reading a lot of books, a lot of books. So we're going to jump right in. I started May, finishing a trilogy that I started in April. And it's a trilogy that's in the middle of a big series. But the first book I read in May of 2002, Star Trek New Frontier, Excalibur, Renaissance. So the right before the first book, which was Excalibur Requiem, the USS Excalibur had been destroyed, and in Requiem, all of the crew members had gone on to different assignments within Starfleet, but Captain Mackenzie Calhoun was dead, presumed dead. Come on, we know what's going on. So in the second book, we're following more of the crew members on their different assignments. This one features Dr. Solar, who's a Vulcan, and had kids, with Lieutenant Commander Burgoyne. And Solar has gone to Vulcan to raise her children in the Vulcan way, and Burgoyne wants them raised in the way of their people. So there's personal conflict going on there. And then Robin Leffler, who was played by Ashley Judd in Star Trek The Next Generation, and her mother are, I believe, at Risa, the Pleasure Planet, and run into Montgomery Scott, old Scotty from the original series. So we're just following some of the adventures and things of the crew of the Excalibur. I followed that up with the third book in the Excalibur trilogy, which is in the middle of the New Frontier trilogy, but it's Star Trek New Frontier, Excalibur Restoration by Peter David. Did I say that for the first book? It's Peter David. And in Restoration, we find out, oh my goodness, Captain Mackenzie Calhoun is alive, and he's on this planet, Yakaba, and there's a woman with telekinetic powers, I believe it's telekinetic, and some bad guys trying to, capture her for their own nefarious purposes. Calhoun is defending her, and meanwhile, a new Excalibur has been built. It's the NCC whatever number, and then A, and our crew's all going to get back together, of course. But it's good stuff. Both of these books, the entire New Frontier series. I like Peter David's writing. After that, Blue Suede Clues by Daniel Klein. This is an Elvis Presley mystery. It takes place in 1963. Elvis is out in Hollywood, and a buddy of his has been put in jail for a murder that he says he didn't commit. So he asks Elvis for help. Elvis is going to solve this mystery with a wild cast of characters. It's a fun little mystery featuring Elvis Presley. Excuse me. All right, this next book, it's Killing Monsters by Gerard Jones. This is a nonfiction book, and it's basically about media and kids, and how children need fantasy, science fiction, violent media. They need to play with guns, act out violence, and talk to their parents about things. But basically, how it helps children deal with real life things by being able to act things out. So all sorts of studies and different things go into this book. It was pretty interesting. Gerard Jones was a big comic book writer, which is how I came to read this. But in 2016, Gerard Jones went to prison for, I believe it was just possession of child pornography. Apparently, thousands and thousands of pictures and things across multiple devices. So he had initially pleaded not guilty, then he pleaded guilty, went to prison in 2016, was released in 2022. So it kind of makes looking back on this book, gives it a different lens. So there you have it, Killing Monsters by Gerard Jones. All right, now some books I actually have. Next up, we have Death at the Crossroads by Dale Furutani, a samurai mystery. The main character here is Matsuyama Kaze. He's a Ronin. It means he's a masterless samurai, and he's on a mission to fulfill the wish of his dead master's or dead lord's wife, which is to save her kidnapped child. His lord was killed, his child kidnapped. But as he's on this mission, in this book, he finds a corpse at a crossroads. Someone killed with an arrow. A merchant pierced by an arrow. But Kaze is not happy with the official findings of the local police, essentially, and so sets out to solve this murder himself. Fantastic book. And when I first read these, and I have all three of them here, it was just stuff I got at the library. Got all three out of the library and read them, but hunted down copies of my own because they were fantastic. So Death at the Crossroads by Dale Furutani. And I followed that up with Jade Palace Vendetta by Dale Furutani. And in this one, yes, Kaze sees a merchant being attacked by a gang of thugs. He helps that merchant. The merchant hires Kaze to be his bodyguard, his Yojimbo. And on his travels to get where he's going, but things aren't always what they seem. There's a big mystery. The merchant is the keeper of many dark secrets and the target of an official vendetta, is what it says inside. So more intrigue and mystery as Kaze still searching for the kidnapped daughter of his dead lord. And then finally we have Kill the Shogun. And in this one, Kaze, following a trail of clues, he is led to Edo, the bustling new capital of Japan. Becomes the object of a deadly manhunt when an attempt on the shogun's life fails. And where's the part I was looking for? He learns that the young girl, has been sold into prostitution. So he's on the run because I don't know if he's been framed for the attempt on the shogun's life or he's just the prime suspect. I don't remember that detail. But still trying to rescue his dead lord's daughter. And just more intrigue, more mystery, more adventure. Just a fantastic book, a fantastic trilogy. If I remember correctly, there's some slight supernatural or mystical elements in the books, but it's not that. They're not that type of book. They're more the mystery, but it is 17th century Japan, and so there's a mystical element to it. Great books. So Kill the Shogun, Dale Furutani, a trilogy that I absolutely want to reread. Hopefully, so maybe I'll do it this year. Who knows? But after that, I read The Art of Arrow Cutting by Stephen Dedman. And this is, the main character's name is Michelangelo Maggio Magistrale. He's called Mage. He's an itinerant photographer. And this woman asks for, I think, bus fare. And he gives it to her, and she gives him a key to something. And he, Mage, and his buddy, who is an Asian stuntman / ninja, are trying to figure out what this key is for, and they learn that the young woman that he gave the bus fare to has disappeared. And there's Yakuza, and this one, unlike the Furutani, the Samurai Mystery Trilogy, this one absolutely filled with supernatural elements, monsters, and things. So, wild mystery and horror mixed together. And I guess horror. I mean, it's got monsters and stuff. I think this is another one that I got from the library. Not that that matters. Then we have The Fandom of the Operator by Robert Rankin. Um, and Robert Rankin was, I think he passed away, a British author who made these comedy with horror elements books. And his titles were these puns, The Fandom of the Operator. And in this book, the main character's name is Gary Cheese. He works as a telephone operator. He's also a serial killer. And he learns that there is a phone line that will allow you to talk to the dead. There's a complicated formula to get the number that you have to dial, which has something to do with when they died, when they were the date of their death, the date of their birth, some other, I forget the other things that go into the number, but then you get this number and you can talk to anybody who's ever died. If you have the information you need to get the number. And so he starts talking to dead people, and maybe he is going to bring some people back to life. Who knows? Um, Fun stories, not nearly as funny as, say, Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But for me, not a Terry Pratchett fan. So better than Terry Pratchett, in my opinion. I don't know why I've tried the Discworld stuff, never got into Terry Pratchett's stuff. The only thing I liked was Good Omens that he co-wrote with Neil Gaiman. Um, so amusing, fun. The Fandom of the Operator by Robert Rankin. We're going to see more of his stuff in future videos. Followed that up with Shadow's Bite by Stephen Dedman. This is the follow-up to The Art of Arrow Cutting. And in this one, we're introduced to, Mage and his ninja buddy now are the targets of revenge from the son of the guy they dealt with in the first book. And he's calling up demons, and there's vampires, and just all sorts, and the Yakuza again. So all sorts of crazy shenanigans. Really tempted to go back and find these and at least reread one of them to see. I must have liked the first one well enough because I read the second one, but I really don't remember anything about them. But Shadow's Bite, Stephen Dedman. Magic monsters, stuntmen, ninjas. Some wild stuff. All right, now we got 4 in a row that finish out a 6-book series that I started earlier. So they're in earlier videos. But we have Predator and Prey Werewolf by Gerbod Fleming. This is in the World of Darkness series based on their game The Hunter, which is... So I've talked about this many times because I've read so many of these books. Excuse me. White Wolf put out the role-playing games, Vampire, Werewolf, Mage, Changeling, the one that is about ghosts that I don't remember. All part of the World of Darkness, and in the games, you played a vampire or a werewolf or a mage or a ghost or a changeling. In this all-encompassing World of Darkness. And then they finally added the Hunters, where you could play a human character who's fighting these different monsters. This is a series featuring that. Werewolf is the 3rd book. And one of the main characters is Black Rindle, who is a half-breed guru, which is what the werewolves are called. So he's an outcast. And then we have Caitlin Stinnett, who's a human who has left the city because it's full of monsters, she has discovered. But now out in the wilderness, she discovers there's monsters there too. What's going to happen? And how do they connect? Followed that up with Predator and Prey Jury by Gerbod Fleming. And this one features Douglas Sands, who is a hunter. And, his fellow hunters are dying. He's just trying to kill monsters. Caitlin Stinnett is in this one as well. And I think in this one, or maybe it's in the last one that she's made this discovery, but essentially, Judith has realized that not all supernatural creatures are monsters or evil. So being a hunter isn't as black and white as she once thought it was. And then we have Predator and Prey Mage. And in this one, we have Adrian Cross. Just a plain old human, but he's a pawn of the technocracy, which I believe are the evil mages. And they have these designs on this small city or small town. And they were putting their pieces into place. Adrian Chase was one of those pieces, but things went awry, and now they're trying to reconfigure their plan, but now Adrian Chase is actively working against them because he's now a hunter. And then the final book in the series is Predator and Prey Executioner, and Douglas Sands is back, and it basically is going to bring everything together and maybe resolve any threads from the previous 5 books. And again, I think Douglas Sands realizes that not all supernatural creatures are monsters. It's not all black and white. But it was a good series. I enjoyed it. I like World of Darkness. If you've watched this series of videos, there's been so many World of Darkness books. And this is one of my favorite series. And I like that the focus is on now human characters. As much as I like the vampire and the werewolf books, where the main characters are vampires or werewolves, it's nice to have some humans as the focus. All right, the penultimate book for May of 2002 is Dead Even by Brad Meltzer. Our main characters are Sarah Tate, who is a prosecutor. I believe it's either in New York or Washington, I think. I don't know. Some big city. She's a prosecutor who's got this huge case. Her husband, Jared, is a defense attorney, and he ends up on the other side of the aisle. But it's not just spouses going head-to-head in the courtroom. There's some behind-the-scenes stuff going on, and Sarah has received a mysterious message essentially saying if she doesn't win the case, her husband is going to be killed. And Jared essentially receives the same message. If he doesn't win the case, his wife will be killed. What's going on? What's so important about this case? They're not allowed to tell anybody about these threats. So it's not just, they try and keep their professional lives separate from their personal lives, but now there's this added tension of, I have to win or you will die, and I can't tell you that. I enjoy this one a lot. I really like Brad Meltzer as a writer of these political thrillers or legal thrillers in this case. I like his stuff. I mentioned this last time he came up. I like his stuff better than John Grisham. This was supposed to be. There were talks about it being made into a TV series. I don't think that ever happened, but I would have watched it at least a little bit. It would have to be a mini series. Trying to make it into an ongoing show once this initial story's gone, I don't think it would have worked, but I would have checked it out. Anyway, Dead Even, Brad Meltzer. And then the final book that I read in May of 2002 was The Horizon War, Volume 1, The Road to Hell by Robert Weinberg. This is a mage novel from World of Darkness, and an old enemy of the mages, the mage organization, has resurfaced and is trying to destroy or take over / destroy the world, and the good guy mages are trying to stop him. So that's all from the synopsis I had to dig up online. I don't really remember much about it. The mage stuff was fine, not nearly as good as the vampire or werewolf or hunter stuff. But that was The Horizon War, Volume 1, The Road to Hell, Robert Weinberg. The last book that I read in May of 2002. Question for this video. I don't really have one. This is the second time I've recorded this video. I did it a few days ago, but I'm not going to go into the specifics, but there were some things I talked about in that video, and then because of circumstances that just happened, I decided that I didn't want what I said. It's not a bad thing. Well, the circumstances are bad. What I said wasn't bad, but because of those circumstances, I decided that what I said wasn't appropriate to put out. So I've re recorded this, and now that all had to do with the question that I asked. So I'm trying to think of a different question. Um, do you like parody fiction? I feel like I've talked about this. I've asked about comedy fiction. And Phantom of the Operator isn't really a parody. It's just a pun on the name Phantom of the Opera, but it's not like the story is a parody of Phantom of the Opera. So, but we'll stick with parody. Do you enjoy parody fiction? I mean, the easiest example of this to talk about is movies. Airplane, Hot Shots, Scary Movie, tons of parody movies. Some would say Shaun of the Dead. Some people say Scream. I was actually just reading an online article um, talking about, it was actually about the worst franchises, movie franchises, and they had the Scary Movie on that list. And they said, Scary Movie, parody of horror movies. And the first one's a parody of Scream, which in itself is a parody of horror movies. But anyway, as far as books go, off the top of my head, I can't think of any unless, like, I just recently read and reviewed The Call of Cthulhu, which one could say is parodying Lovecraftian mythos and Winnie the Pooh, but they're not funny stories. There might be a little humor in some of them, but they're still horror stories. They're just, some are written like Winnie the Pooh, some are written like Lovecraft. So I can't. Maybe the Judith Sonnet, but there's pastiche, and then there's parody. It's different things. See, this is a horrible question, but I want to go back to that original question because of circumstances. So I don't know. Can you? Maybe the question is, can you think of any parody books? Samurai Cat parodies a lot of different things. Samurai Cat Goes to the Movies parodies some very specific movies, including The Terminator. Samurai Cat in the Real World parodies different things. That's funny parody. I think if it's done right and it's something I'm interested in, I don't care about a parody of romance stuff because I'm not into romance stuff. But if it's done right, I enjoy a good parody. Talking about all those movies, love Airplane, love Hot Shots, enjoyed the first couple Scary Movies. Things like Murder by Death, which is a parody of sort of Agatha Christie type mysteries. Is it? Or is it more hard-boiled detective mysteries? Maybe a mix. I don't know. But anyway, I enjoy a good parody. Good being the operative word. I'm just glanced over here. Weird, the Al Yankovic story I recently watched. Fantastic parody movie. It's great. Parody songs. Love Weird Al's stuff for the most part. Anyway, what do you think of parodies? What are your favorites? If you don't like them, why not? Let me know in the comments below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe, all the usual YouTube stuff. And if you'd care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is @Ronan5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, fuzzy animals, is Eric Smith 5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH 5757. If you're on Blue Sky, I am at EL Smith. That's all I have for you this week. So until next week, read more books.